Good day, my name is Ina Kivitz and I'm currently completing my advanced diploma in human resource management. Today, my group and I will present to you a topic based on performance consulting. Firstly, we will cover the learning outcome. So, the learning outcomes is as follows. What is a performance consultant? The context of performance consulting. Characteristics of performance consultant, roles performed by a performance consultant, and lastly, performance consultant competencies. Let's go. Firstly, we will be looking at what is a performance consultant. But before we unpack the definition of a performance consultant, let's look at performance consulting. Performance consulting is the process that produces business results by improving the performance of employees. Performance consulting is results focused. Performance consulting concentrates on the gaps that exist between the business and performance results. Performance consulting explains the what and the how in order to achieve organizational performance. It is also important to understand that not all problems in the business can be solved through training. So, in a nutshell, performance consulting focuses on improving the performance of employees within the organization with keeping in mind to improve the overall performance of the organization as well. Who are performance consultants? Performance consultants specializes in enhancing the performance of employees. They are experts in business, human performance technology, partnership, and consulting. They diagnose problems and also find possible solutions to these problems. The main role of a performance consultant is to identify and address the performance needs of employees. Performance consultants are change agents. They also focus on maintaining healthy relationships with leaders within the organization. They record training and non-training actions. They use assessments to study the performance gaps within the organization. And lastly, performance consultants are also responsible to identify the causes of the gaps that causes the problems within the organization. The key differences between a trainer and a performance consultant are as follows. The trainer focuses on learning needs and the performance consultant focuses on performance needs. In terms of output, the trainer is responsible for achieving structured learning experience and the performance consultant is responsible for achieving solutions that change performance. In terms of accountability, the trainer is accountable for training activities, whereas the performance consultant is responsible for producing better business results. In terms of measures, the trainer measures participant reaction and learning, whereas the performance consultant measures performance change and return on investment. In terms of assessment, the trainer is responsible for assessing training needs, which includes knowledge and skills, whereas the performance consultant is responsible for assessing the performance gaps. Relationship to organizational goals. Here the trainer is cost center and the performance consultant produces measurable results. Now we will be looking at human performance technology. Human performance technology is the technology that is used within the workplace that compromises all variables that affects human performance. It is also used within the workplace to identify factors that will enable employees to perform their jobs adequately in order to achieve desired results. Human performance technology provides tools and processes to identify opportunities to improve performance, valued solutions, as well as return on investment and building blocks to construct new performance environments and systems. HPT methodology helps all HRT and training as well as learning and development practices practitioners to identify problems within the organization. It also helps them to answer questions that line managers has about their work. HPT can help the above mentioned to answer the following questions. Do you know exactly where your performance gaps are? Do you know when to start fixing those problems within the organization? Can you measure the value of solutions you implemented to fix these problems? HPT will help you identify systematically where these problems are, and it will also assist HRD and training or learning and development practitioners to solve these problems within the given organization that they are situated in. Let's look at the importance of performance consulting. So, why is performance consulting important for any given organization? It is important as it helps the organization to achieve its overall business goals. Performance consulting is a systematic, performance oriented approach which focuses on implementing solutions and achieving sustained results within the organization. It also helps the organization to optimize performance within the workplace, thereby supporting the organization's overall business goals. 5 phases of performance consulting. The training industry has identified 5 phases of performance consulting, which creates a continuous cycle of activity. What are these 5 phases? These 5 phases include contracting, analysis, recommendations and agreements, implementation, and lastly, assessing the results. We will now be shifting our focus to performance challenges. Performance in any organization is a complex issue. Therefore, it needs ongoing attention if one wishes to improve the results that the employees achieve within their job. Typical performance challenges includes the following: a high percentage of poor performance within the organization, poor alignment of business goals and objectives to individual goals translating to excellent performance, line managers' lack of skills and objectivity to deal with poor performance as well as poor performers, outdated performance management systems, as well as poor work and performance discipline. Here are recommendations for effective performance consulting. Never assume that training is always the solution to a problem. Instead, collect data to identify the true need. Develop your consulting skills by achieving strong business acumen, manage relationships with stakeholders or people reporting to stakeholders when working with them. Be an active listener, always listen attentively, and lastly, measure and report your results all the time. Now I will be speaking about a scenario which refers to unsafe email practices that occurred within an organization between multiple departments, and the discussion was between the information technology leader as well as the learning and development leader. Okay, so the learning and development leader is seen as the performance consultant here. So I will be telling you how the person handled the situation. First things first, the information technology leader met with the learning and development leader and told him about the problem that occurred within the organization, that a lot of unsafe email practice is happening within the organization. So it's the performance consultants' responsibility to improve performance within the organization and also solve given problems relating to performance to improve the overall organizational goals. So this is what the learning and development leader did. The person didn't jump to training immediately. As I said, that training doesn't often always solve the problem. The person first developed a true need by identifying the problem. The person asks questions amongst all the departments as to why the unsafe email practices is happening within the organization. He wanted to know if the person is aware of these things, or if the person is unaware. Do the person know what's unsafe email practices and cyber crimes? Do employees also know what is the pros and cons of cyber crime with when doing the emails within the organization? And then from there, the person took an active decision in order to solve the problem. In this case, people just they knew what cybercrime was and unfair email practices, but they had to refresh their memory because they did go on training before, but it was long ago already. And then because of the majority of the employees knew what cybercrime is and what unsafe email practices is, they only had a short session where this stuff was reiterated to them to refresh their memory, and training wasn't required. So it's important to do a needs analysis to understand what the problem is and not just jump to training. Because what if you train the employees within the organization and they didn't need training, but they just needed maybe a refresher, which means that you will spend a lot of unnecessary money where that training cost could have been plowed back within the organization to achieve other organizational goals. So it is always important for performance consultants to first analyze and identify the true need before taking action to solve the problem, which will in turn lead to cutting costs, achieving organizational goals, and also improving employees' performance within the organization, thus increasing the productivity of the overall organization.
Hello, I'm Etty McCormack, a senior consultant with over 20 years of experience helping companies to build high-performance environments where organizational results are achieved through human performance. Performance consulting has been around for some time, but what does it mean? Well, let me ask you a couple of questions. In the last year, can you think of an example where you received a request from a client for specific solutions or training? So, for example, listening skills training or team building or something similar, where you knew that the solution was not going to solve the problem. Do you see examples within your organisation or with your clients that show increased accountability for performance or pressure to demonstrate results? Is there more pressure to demonstrate a return on the investment or show changes in business numbers because of the work that you do? Is there more pressure on the training budget? All of these are forces within companies that are compelling more of a performance focus. Performance consulting is a process used by learning and development and human resources professionals to understand the real business problems triggered by requests for people solutions, and help establish the facts behind these requests to isolate the performance problems and scope and build solutions that will impact results. To help you address these challenges, the Learning and Performance Institute has developed a 2-day workshop to build and enhance your skills as a performance consultant and understand the drivers that affect individual, team, and business performance. This very practical workshop will give you a robust framework, practical tools that you can use in your own environment, and will help to build your confidence to have the kind of results-focused conversations with your clients about what their business objectives are and how you can help them achieve them.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Keenan Cruz. I will be speaking about the contextualization of performance consulting. You might ask yourself, what is the contextualization of performance consulting? Well, let me be the light in your darkness here today, right? The context of performance consulting consists of 3 things, right? It consists of the changes of the training profession that is imperative to any facet regarding performance enhancement. According to various sources, changes of the training profession is an imperative facet regarding performance enhancement. According to multiple other sources, performance technology is a systematic process of linking business goals and strategies with the workforce that is responsible for achieving all the goals. Various HR practitioners Utilize familiar methodology to comprehend, inspire, and innovate various individuals today in the workplace. The need to forge a partnership with management. I've incorporated a practical example for you guys to comprehend it and understand the concept in a better way forward, right? The one graph indicates an organization's success when building relationships. It indicates an additional graph that shows the drop in percentage when not teaming up with management at all. To me, this practically, the way I understand it, is that when one teams up with management, you have more resources, you're more successful, you are financially stable, and the company will do exceptionally well when you form a partnership with management. Need to partner with management. This is the continued version of that, right? Partnerships never go out of style. That's something that will trend for years to come in various and multiple organizations today. Organizations frequently seek partners with complementary capabilities in order to forge into new markets, new ventures, and new channels, right? The more challenging an organization environment becomes, for example, new technologies emerge, creative spaces and innovation cycles are refurbished, it only makes sense to forge sustainable relationships with management. An organization prospers financially and have the ability to build more of an entire portfolio of practical and valued partnerships if management forge profound individual relationships with employees today. The need to forge a partnership with management. I've incorporated a practical example for you guys to comprehend it and understand the concept in a better way forward, right? The one graph indicates an organization's success when building relationships. It indicates an additional graph that shows the drop in percentage when not teaming up with management at all. To me, this practically, the way I understand it, is that when one teams up with management, you have more resources, you're more successful, you are financially stable, and the company will do exceptionally well when you form a partnership with management. The second subheading includes the link with business needs, right? Identification of human performance requirements commences with the clarification of current and future goals of an organization. If business goals are defined comprehensively, the performance enhancement process can kick off efficiently and effectively. Business requirements will be reflected in the macro environment. Macro environment refers to the external environment of the organization. The micro environment refers to the internal environment of an organization that will be reflecting the organizational change needs. The core of performance improvement requires the learning and work environments to be addressed frequently. Moving on to the full section of the contextualization of the performance consulting, which refers to the needs development, figure 5.1 within the textbook, right? That refers to so many layers, and I'm going to mention each and every layer. I'm starting with the core. The core consists of the learning and the work environment needs. Then the layer above the core, we have the performance needs. The layer above that, we have the business and strategic needs. In that same layer at the bottom, we have the organizational change needs. Then right on top, we have the organizational culture. And in that same block and layer, we have the organizational politics, which is situated right at the bottom of the block. The final section of the subheading of the contextualization of performance consulting consists of the link with human resource development, guys, right? I'm so excited. I'm actually thrilled for this one. Increasing pressure. Achieve more with less at a cost-effective price. At the human resource development profession aims to refurbish itself, and business needs and international markets are dictated thereby. Practitioners in the human resource development businesses are required to assimilate some of the newly emerging roles for human resource development practitioners today. Emerging roles include the following points that I am going to point out to you guys right here, right now, today. Organizational performance analysis is one. Internal and external consultant is number two. Number three includes organizational effectiveness evaluator. Number four includes partnership builder. Number five, last but not least, a change agent.
Good day, my name is Amy Maritz and I will be discussing the link with organization development and the link with NQF critical outcomes. So firstly, what is organization development? While this enables people to change systems and the culture within a workplace. An organization development practitioner will apply behavioral science to issue within organizations and systems to align capability and strategy. The trend for human resource development and organization development practitioners is the movement towards performance consulting. This specifically relates to three aspects, which is identifying organizational problems, to manage change, and to help the whole organization become more efficient in achieving its strategic goals. Performance consulting borrows from a variety of disciplines, including performance technology and organizational development. Performance consulting blends these approaches with interpersonal skills, systems thinking, and diagnostic skills. Interpersonal skills are qualities and behaviors that we exhibit while being around other people. We demonstrate this whenever we engage in any form of verbal or non-verbal communication. Systems thinking focuses on the way a system's basic parts interrelate, how long the system works over time, and within the context of larger systems. This approach studies systems by breaking them down into separate elements. Diagnostic skills refer to an individual's ability to identify a problem and define it. These skills are acquired through formal training, practice, or experimentation. Performance consulting concerns itself with the overall performance and involves the creation and reinforcement of change. Change management skills form a foundation for any performance strategy. So what are change management skills? This requires more of a strategic focus. Individual change management may require interpersonal skills, communication skills, and understanding of group psychology. Change management is driven by people, strategic thinking, and other hard skills are required. A tip for performance consultants would be to work within organizational constraints. You can work with a client to change some of these constraints, but not all of them. So what are organizational constraints? These are defined as aspects within the immediate work environment that hinder the translation of motivation and abilities into effective performance. Examples of this would be insufficient information or equipment or inadequate help from other people. Now I'll discuss the link with NQF critical outcomes. So NQF stands for the National Qualifications Framework, which is the South African framework to arrange levels of learning achievements. SAQA, which is the South African Qualification Authority, has been using this framework since 2008. So what are critical outcomes? These are statements that describe the knowledge and skills that an individual should acquire in order to be declared competent. While no unit standards have been developed for performance consulting, it relates to several management-related functions. If one considers the critical outcomes of the NQF, then performance consulting corresponds very well with the critical outcomes as indicated in the table, which I will discuss below. So you have NQF critical outcomes and performance consulting. So with NQF critical outcomes, you should identify and solve problems in which responses display that responsible decisions using critical and creative thinking have been made. Whereas with performance consulting, the emphasis is on identifying problems surrounding performance, change management, creative solutions, and decision makings. Again, with NQF critical outcomes, you should work effectively with others as a member of a team, group, organization, or community. With performance consulting, on the other hand, this focuses on a partnership between management, employees, and then the performance consultant. All relationships are based on teamwork and cooperation. It is evident that the human resource development practitioner will be challenged to develop a set of more advanced skills in order to bridge the gap between the trainer and the performance consultant. Many human resource practitioners have to be retrained and redeveloped in order to acquire competence in the field of performance consulting. Some consultants are helping trained professionals to achieve this goal by providing training sessions on the realignment of the human resource development to performance consulting.
My name is Akila Mobi, and today I will be speaking about the characteristics of a performance consultant. What is a characteristic? A characteristic is qualities or features of a person or thing that belong to them and make them recognizable. In other words, a characteristic is something that an individual should have in order to perform his or her duties successfully within the organization. Key characteristics of a performance consultant. A performance consultant should possess the following. A performance consultant is committed to improving performance and results, and they do not only implement activities like training, team building, and human resource support. Consultants are basically solution neutral. They challenge all proposed solutions that are not in line with performance as a total system. They apply a validated methodology for determining desired results and identifying the barriers to required performance and evaluating the impact of the specified changes on results. Performance consultants are knowledgeable about a large range of improvement strategies, enabling them to make the necessary solutions which will address the performance gaps to bring about the required results within an organization. Performance consultants are business people who should rather specialize in human performance instead of specializing in finance, marketing, or operations within the organization. Performance consultants should be able to do the following regularly. A performance consultant should read the annual report to the organization and understand it. Discuss the ratios used to measure the operational health of the organization with top level management, middle level management, lower level management, and employees in order to establish the performance gaps within the organization. The consultant should be able to identify the forces that will challenge the organization's ability to meet its objectives and goals. Performance consultants should discuss the strategies and actions of their competitors and the implications for the organization. Performance consultants should always keep track of their competitors' strategies in order for them to remain within a competitive advantage. Performance consultants should continuously scan the business environment and its conditions, which will affect the focus and impact of the organization's effectiveness, efficiency, productivity, and ROI, return on investment. Successful characteristics for a consultant. Here are some of the characteristics a performance consultant or any consultant should possess in order to be successful within their respective organization. The first one is organizational skills. Consultants have to juggle tasks on a daily basis, determine priorities, work long hours, and be flexible at all times while delivering deadlines within the organization. Professionalism. Consultants should remain on a professional level with their clients, customers, employees, employers, at all times within the organization. Listening skills. Consultants will encounter all types of personalities. They will meet with garrulous, reserved, and uncommunicative people. Successful consultants have the ability to listen, motivate, and encourage clients, customers, and their employees to speak without restrictions when communicating to one another. A performance consultant should always have good listening skills. Good listening skills is the way to effective communication, thus leading the organization to be more productive, effective, and efficient. Expert knowledge. Consultants must be authoritative in applying theory into practice. For example, consultants should take what they have learned theoretically and put it within practice within the organization. Thank you.
Good day, my name is Anisha Isaacs. I will be discussing the roles performed by a performance consultant. So the question is, what are the roles performed by a performance consultant? So a performance consultant is a person who works with the organization to help improve processes and project initiatives. Their job duties include training employees on proper techniques, meeting with management to plan development opportunities, and acting as analysts for process change and improvement. So, in line with the new SAP PH National HR Competency Model, various competencies, attributes, and standards are necessary for all roles in the human performance improvement process. The performance improvement consultant should have four major roles within the context of IQ, which is the intelligent quotient, PQ, which is the professional quotient, AQ, which is the adversity quotient, and EQ, which is the emotional quotient. The IQ context represents the researcher role. The PQ context represents the professional role. The AQ context represents the change facilitator role, and the EQ represents the communicator role. Okay. So, I'll discuss the first role, which is the IQ context, which is the intelligent quotient, which represents the researcher role. So, before I discuss the roles and the competencies under the specific roles, the roles each have their own set of competencies, attributes, and standards that give them strength, which is listed as follows. So, the first competency is a cultural aligned competency. In organizations where employees share common sets of um, goals and the culture is well defined, it's possible to see a peak in productivity, lower turnover, and higher employee satisfaction levels. The personal consultant should understand the importance of the cultural alignment, as this competency is represented at the worker, and the workplace levels. The next competency will be the HPT methodology competency. So the HPT methodology competency is a human performance improvement, which is a system approach to improve productivity and competencies. So they use a set of methods and procedures as well as a strategy to solve problems for realizing opportunities relating to the performance of people. So, this competency is important for a performance consultant, as they should be able to gather, analyze, and interpret data as well as design, implement, and evaluate interventions. So, the next competency that I will discuss is systems thinking. Systems thinking is a way of helping a person to view systems from a broad perspective. So, this enables a personal consultant to introduce a performance improvement process. They should understand how the different systems interrelate in the bigger picture of the organization. The next one will be the financial competency. So these are financial skills, knowledge, and capabilities which are the foundation of any organization. The performance consultant should have these skills as they are essential in interpreting and analyzing data, company results, and measuring the implemented intervention. So, in conclusion, based on the researcher role, these competencies that was identified under the researcher role will fulfill the role of a researcher within the context of IQ, which is the intelligent quotient, in that they will provide the personal consultant with necessary tools and techniques in fact finding, gathering data, and all other activities in the HPT methodology application. So, the second role that I will be emphasizing on will be the PQ context, which is the professional quotient, which is represented as the professional role. So, the first competency under the specific role is known as business fundamentals and industry understanding. So, the personal consultant must be competent in basic business principles and have a working understanding of the micro business, as this will contribute to meaningful consultations with management. The next one, which is the technology awareness and application. The performance consultant must have an understanding of the latest technology and use it as a vehicle to achieve the desired outcome. The third competency, which is the specialist knowledge. The specialist knowledge includes the entire spectrum of the human resource strategies, knowledge of business and industry, and sound knowledge of the human behavior as it relates to adults in the workplace. The next one, which is benchmarking. So, benchmarking is a process that will assist the performance consultant in analyzing the gap that exists during the research and cause analysis phase. Okay. Next, we have ethics. So, in forming business relationships with management, it is important that the performance consultant follow a business code of ethics and professionalism, which will lead to acceptance as well as credibility. Networking. So, the ability to network is essential as it is one of the most important competencies, and having a variety of internal as well as external industry, this can result in leaders strengthening the professional as well as the business relationships within the organization. So, an example of networking will be the sharing and acquiring of information between different divisions of the same company in order to share information as well as solve business problems. The third role that I will be discussing is it's under the AQ context, which is the adversity quotient, which is represented as the change facilitator role. So the first competency that I will be discussing under the specific role is conflict handling and transformation. So, as a performance consultant, necessities change. It is important that they have the ability to cope with conflict that might arise from implementing a change process. The performance consultant should be competent in managing the transformation and change process as performance improvement process will bring about transformation and change. The next one, which is project facilitation. So, project facilitation, to implement the change process, the performance consultant should have the ability to apply project facilitation skills to monitor the process and progress of the change. The next one, which will be the third competency, which is known as the intervention design and development. The performance consultant must be able to develop and design the appropriate intervention to meet the performance gaps in the workplace. So lastly, the last role that I will be discussing, which is under the EQ context, which represents the emotional quotient, which also represents the communicator role. So the first competency will be evaluation and feedback. So during a performance improvement process, it is important that the performance consultant provides ongoing feedback as well as a thorough full evaluation of the end of a specific project. The next competency, which is self-awareness and development. The performance consultant should continuously engage in self-development interventions and knowledge acquisitions. Self-awareness and insight will result in improved business relationships. Influencing and negotiating. The competency of influencing and negotiating are equally important in the makeup of the performance consultant. The ability of influence and negotiate the change process will result in achieving the outcomes for the performance improvement process. The next one, which is the interaction effectiveness and impact. The success of interaction effectiveness competencies will be seen in the impact the performance consultant has in the implementation process. The last competency that we're discussing is marketing and promotion. So the performance consultant needs to acquire marketing and promoting competencies which will result in dynamic and ongoing workplace performance improvement. So the most important competency within the communicator role is not whether the performance consultants can communicate, but whether they understand the effectiveness and the impact of their communication. So, each role within its context has an important function in the overall effectiveness of the performance consultant. These roles and competencies will be used interchangeably and give the nature of the context of the environment. These competencies will allow performance consultants to be effective within the entire performance improvement process, which includes researching a problem, presenting and promoting various performance improvement outcomes. The performance consultant needs to acquire these competencies within their specific roles in able to enhance the development part of the performance consultant. So my next group member will be discussing the performance competencies, the performance consultant competencies. Thank you very much for listening.
Good day everybody, my name is Tasneem Abdullah and today I'll be focusing on performance consulting competencies. The competencies that a performance consultant should have are the following: industry awareness, leadership skills, interpersonal relationship skills, problem solving skills, consulting skills, technological awareness and understanding. Industry awareness, understanding the vision, goals, strategy and culture of an industry, linking human performance improvement interventions to organizational goals. For example, good information, whether it is on finance, markets, competitors, technology, communities, or anything relevant to the organization and its work, is essential. Having the ability to research new information and use it is a key element in improving commercial awareness. Leadership skills, knowing how to lead or influence others positively to achieve desired work results. For examples, performance consultants has had global success building managers with coaching skills that increase productivity. Their workshops have helped many organizations across the globe. They were pioneers in coaching skills for managers. Interpersonal relationship skills, working effectively with others to achieve common goals and exercising effective interpersonal influences. For example, demonstrating professionalism, managing sensitive situations, building mutual trust, being reliable, consistent, and credible, recognizing differences and diversity, and putting in place conditions conducive to respect all teams and individuals. Problem-solving skills, detecting performance gaps and helping others discover ways to close performance gaps in the present and the future. Closing performance gaps between actual and ideal performance. For example, consultants who take a problem-solving orientation usually use a linear process in their work. They first identify the problem, diagnose them, and implement solutions. At this point, the consulting assignment often ends. Consulting skills, understanding the result that stakeholders desire from a process and proving insight into how these results can be efficient and effective. For example, consulting skills include the ability to identify issues, define roles, communicate solutions and obstacles, and also negotiate solutions, define and measure success, and provide and receive feedback. A good performance consultant should also be able to be a good business acumen and also be able to manage relationships. Technological awareness and understanding. Using existing or new technology and different types of hardware and software, understanding performance support systems that are appropriate. For example, effective communication is crucial for team productivity. At the same time, some companies are often fenced by investing their time and effort into software that improves team communication. In this slide, I'm going to be playing a video with regards to technological awareness and understanding. Hope you enjoy it.
My name is Aisling and I'm a consultant in the technology team. We help clients from strategy through to implementation, helping them to utilise innovative technologies to gain efficiencies, capitalise on opportunities and solve problems. Every day in consulting looks different, it's the nature of the work. So you could start your morning in the office researching a new client, then you could be out on client site facilitating an information gathering workshop or requirements gathering workshop, and then in the afternoon you could be back in the office working on a client deliverable. On a daily basis I would use communication, networking and global acumen the most. The ability to be flexible in terms of your style, because you're out with different clients all the time, with different cultures and environments, you need to be able to adapt accordingly. The hardest part of my working day would probably be the variety in terms of being on a different client site, which makes it hard sometimes to plan your life around that. But what we're really good at in PwC is making sure that our project team are aware of our commitments outside work, so we always have a good work-life balance. My main productivity tip would be time management. So it is quite a fast-paced environment, so it's just about at the beginning of every day writing out your objectives for the day and what you need to achieve, and then I suppose prioritising your time according to that. The best thing would be the people. It's a very diverse group of people that work in the tech team, and I continually learn and leverage on their experience and their expertise. So you get so many great opportunities to work in different sectors, different industries, and learn different competencies.
Important fact to remember. Performance consultants work with organizations to solve issues pertaining to human performance with the ultimate goal of achieving organizational performance. Thank you for listening in on our presentation. We highly appreciate it and I hope you have enjoyed the session with us.